You can't find one nigger leader. Find me one that made a video in honor of Noble Drew Ali in the past 50 years. Find me one. Just one. I'm not even asking for much. Find me one. Find me one black, African, whatever leader who made a video in honor of Noble Drew Ali.
I will say this to you, sir, that the first time that Elijah Muhammad came to New York after I had accepted Islam, Brother Malcolm was alive at that time and his New York minister. The first, it was October 1956. I'm sorry, 55. Elijah Muhammad spoke on two men who were the forerunners to him. Noble Drew Ali was number one, and Marcus Garvey was number two. He said to us, that was the first big speech outside of a temple that I heard Elijah Muhammad speak. And on that day, he lifted Noble Drew Ali, that we should honor him, respect him, and study what he did as a forerunner. We had many who were followers of Noble Drew Ali under the name Bey and Krim and other Islamic names that came to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And we never clashed. We never clashed with our brothers from the Moorish Science Temple. Now let's look at Noble Drew Ali. Here's a man that died a young man. Noble Drew Ali. He lived from 1886 to 1929. I salute my brother. He's the first man to bring Islam to us in the way he tried to bring it. And I thank him, thank Allah for him.
Peace, 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 peace. I'm Rami Salam El. I thank you for watching. Thank you for joining. For new Moors that are watching this right now, people that are just coming into this Moorish information, please listen closely. Don't believe what I say. I encourage you to look up everything that you see, everything that you hear, and most importantly, judge everything based off of what Noble Drew Ali said. Why? Because he is a prophet. I'm not claiming to be a prophet. I'm not the leader or the founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Noble Drew Ali. We're supposed to be following his lead, and we gotta stick to that principle. And also understand as we go through this, this is about principle. For Moors that have been aware about about this information, I encourage you to listen to what I'm saying. Don't believe what I'm saying. Hold me accountable. If I said something that was incorrect, please inform me. Let me know where I was mistaken, if I made an error in any place. And for people that aren't Moors and are just watching from the sidelines, please just listen and pay attention with an open mind and understand that there are some Moorish Americans that are doing our best to set the right example. And much respect to the Nation of Islam and the Honorable Louis Minister Farrakhan, Elijah Muhammad, to all the brothers and sisters in the Nation of Islam. What I appreciate about the Nation of Islam is they set an example for themselves in terms of conduct, how they present themselves, how they speak. Oh, that's a member of the Nation of Islam when you see him move, when you see him talking. And I sincerely appreciate that and inspire, to for Moorish Americans to get to that place so that we hold ourselves based on principles and move according to principle. Okay. Why? I know it's a question. Why am I doing what? Matter of fact, let me not even say it. Let's roll it.
Why you care so much? Why is Cliff Solo care so much about this artificial entity that Noble Drew Ali created?
Just to clarify, he's calling me Cliff Solo because that's my artist name when I create hip hop. But for the record, boom, I hope you can see that clearly. Rami Abdullah Salam El, issued June 25th, 2014. So I'm Rami Salam El. But to answer the question, why does Rami care so much? Why is he making these videos? Why is he talking about what Kudjo? Why does he care so much about what Kudjo is saying and doing? Let me explain. It's what Noble Drew Ali said. Prophet warns all Muslims to be read in every meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical speeches while at work, in their homes, or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. We're going to get to that later. Says a little further down. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. And then a little further down it says, the prophet is therefore sending out a divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. Noble Drew Ali sent out a divine plea to all Moorish Americans. I'm a Moorish American. What does it say for us to do? To do their part, I have to do my part in what? Protecting the prophet and the temple. So this is why I care. And on a personal note, something that I stress to my son a lot and my daughter is to say what you mean and mean what you say. To stand on principles. You know, and I often talk about love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and how we gotta love. This is correct. We do have to love, but also we have to be truthful. We have to be true. I can't be hypocritical. I can't be quiet just because it's somebody I know. As a great leader once said, let me read this quote for you. I'm for truth no matter who tells it. I'm for justice no matter who it is for or against. I'm a human being first and foremost, and as such, I'm for whoever and whatever benefits humanity as a whole. El Hajj Malik El Shabazz, also known as Malcolm X. So I care on a principle level as a man because this is what I stand on principle-wise. I have to be honest. I have to be just. What's right is right, and what's wrong is wrong. And as a Moorish American, I have to protect the temple and the prophet. And what Kudjo Adwo El is doing is damaging, is injurious to our temple, to our prophet, to our movement, to our nation. So this is why I care so much. And let me read one more thing, just to follow up what Noble Drew Ali said. Again, not just me, not what I feel about it. A warning from the prophet. It says, there's no favorite in any of the temples, for the law is laid down, and everyone who claims a part of the work must be governed accordingly. There's but one temple in this nation, and there's but one prophet of the temples. It's one temple in this nation. Understand? Let's continue.
We have a book together. So there's absolutely no way he should be talking against anything that I'm saying.
This for Moors especially. We cannot have that mentality. We cannot think, oh, well, just because it's a Moor, I'm going to let it ride, and whatever they say, I'm riding with them because they Moorish. Nah. What's right is right, and what's wrong is wrong. Just because I wrote a book with Kudjo doesn't mean I have to agree or co-sign and just go along with any and everything he says. That's incorrect. And Moors do not have that kind of mentality. Please do not. Stand on principles. Stand on what is good and what is moral and what is just, what is righteous. Don't just go along with it just because somebody got a fez on and saying Islam and Noble Drew Ali a couple of times. Don't do that. Please don't do that.
Everything was laid down already. And people sold it out. So that's why we're renegade right now, just doing whatever we could do to the best of our ability.
All right, so check it out. Moors, but really everybody watching. I want you to understand we do have a problem with this in our movement of people being renegade, going off and doing their own. Well, actually, before I continue, let's read the definition. You know, Moors, we like to get into the dictionary, get into the words, the etymology. So let's get into the definition of what renegade means. And renegade, it's a person who deserts and betrays an organization, country, or set of principles. A person who deserts and betrays an organization, country, or set of principles. A person who behaves in a rebelliously unconventional manner. A person who abandons religion. Having treacherously changed allegiance. Having abandoned one's religious beliefs. Renegade. And we have a big issue with that in our movement. Please understand this. And we're working to correct it. And that's why it's important, that we set an example of how we're supposed to be as Moorish Americans. We're not supposed to be renegades off doing whatever we think we want to do. Noble Drew Ali came and he laid down laws and principles and guidance and order and structure for us to follow. And he is a prophet. So I just want I want Moors to understand, and people that, aren't Moors to understand that when you see people that are off doing their own thing, when you see renegade Moors like Kudjo Adwo, understand that that is not the appropriate representation of a Moorish American. That is not the proper conduct of a true Moor. You know what I mean? Because someone that's a true Moor stands on certain principles, follows the law, you know what I mean, obeys the guidance in the teachings.
You want some supreme whoever to sanction you. And you tell me that you're not pushing this as religion? That's religion. Negro, black, colored people are Moors too. They don't have to be part of no Supreme Grand Council and all that stuff. That's limited to Moorish Science Temple of America only, which was created by Noble Drew Ali as a trap for the traders, all the religious Moors and all the traders who aren't active. And Moorish Science Temple was set up by Noble Drew Ali to trap the traders.
Now you heard him. He said that the Prophet created the Moorish Science Temple of America as a trap. That is a lie. It's completely false. It's untrue. And many lies like that he has said about the temple, disharming people's perception or perspective on what the Moorish Science Temple of America is. But I don't want you to believe me on what the Moorish Science Temple of America is or what Noble Drew Ali created it for. I want to read what he said. And this is coming from Moorish literature, which Kudjo Adwo knows and has read before himself. But I'll read it again for those that don't know or may not be aware. The Moorish leader's historical message to America. In connection with the aims, objects, rules, and regulations of the Moorish Science Temple of America, I deem it proper to submit to you a brief statement of our organization, covering its inception, rise, and progress of the Mohammedan religion, which I hope will be satisfactory to you and be the means of causing you at all times to adhere to the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice in your relations with mankind in general. I further most anxiously hope this brief statement will help you to more clearly see the duty and wisdom of at all times upholding those fundamental principles which are desired for our civilization of our posterity, such as obedience to law, respect and loyalty to government, tolerance, and unity. We organized as the Moorish Temple of Science in the year of 1925, and were legally incorporated as a civic organization under the laws of the state of Illinois, November 29, 1926. The name the Moorish Temple of Science changed to the Moorish Science Temple of America, May 1928, in accordance with the legal requirements of the Secretary of the State of Illinois. The object of our organization is to help in the great program of uplifting fallen humanity and teach those things necessary to make our members better citizens. I'm going to read that last sentence one more time. The object of our organization is to help in the great program of uplifting fallen humanity and to teach those things necessary to make our members of the temple, better citizens. This is what Noble Drew Ali said the Moorish Science Temple of America is for. And also, just for the record, Moors, if you aren't clear, there's this perspective that Kudjo kind of infers to about religion. And you may have heard other Moors down talk religion. Religion is not a bad thing. Religion is a way of life. In fact, in our Quran, in Noble Drew Ali, the prophet, he brought for us, there is a whole chapter titled Religion. So if you hear Moors, speak down talking religion, please know that is not the way we should be. That's not the mentality we should have. All right.
Didn't you just say Supreme Grand Council right there? Right, and this is 1931, right? So that means that after Noble Drew Ali, there was this thing called Supreme Grand Council. It existed. It's not an illusion. It's not some whatever, but it only has to do with the Moorish Science Temple of America. It has nothing to do with the Moorish nation. Absolutely nothing. Supreme Grand Council is limited to Moorish Science Temple of America.
So just so we clear, Kudjo's lied about the Moorish Science Temple of America and Noble Drew Ali saying that he created it and founded it as a trap. That's a lie. He's also now lying about the Supreme Grand Council, saying it's only to do with the Moorish Science Temple of America and that has nothing to do with the Moorish nation. That is also a lie. But, I don't want you to believe me.
So, when you look at the United States government, you got the legislative, the executive, and the judicial branch. The legislative is the Congress, the Senate, the House of Representatives, right? The executive is the president, the vice president, the cabinet, right? The judicial is Supreme Courts and other federal courts, right? You follow me? The same thing that we demonstrate, right? When you look at the legislative branch is the grand body, the grand governors, grand sheiks, governors. You follow me? Yeah, I'll go over this tomorrow if people want me to review it, no problem. The executive branch, the grand sheik and chairman, the assistant grand sheik, and his cabinet. Remember, it says cabinet. When the Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, I'm going to leave the European here long enough to teach you how to run a government, they hijacked the way that we ran a government with our people. So it's very easy to learn. So when you look at the cabinet, you're talking about the secretary, the treasurer, the business manager, et cetera, et cetera. That's the whole cabinet. You follow me? And the same functionality as the executive branch, because the office of the presidency is only represented by Donald Trump. But there's an office of the presidency which consists of the cabinet. You follow me? And then the Supreme Grand Council is like the Supreme Court, interprets laws for the grand body. And other federal courts interprets the laws for the local temples. Just like I was talking about everyday business affairs. So the judicial branch is the Supreme Grand Council. The executive branch is the Grand Sheik and Chairman. which would be equivalent to the president, and the legislative be the grand body. You know what I mean? You follow me?
But the origin of this Supreme Grand Council was clearly an idea of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali himself.
Right, that's why very important that members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, members and officers of the Moorish Science Temple of America understand that this is what the Prophet Noble Drew Ali wanted done. Mm-hmm. It's not something that was put together by you and I, for example, or anybody else. Mm-hmm. This proceeds directly from the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, who was divinely prepared and sent to us from Allah. Mm-hmm. So this was his will. Mm-hmm. He being the founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America, he said that all authority and power of the Moorish Science Temple of America was vested in the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and those whom he appoints to act as in the supreme body. It was his intent that there be 7 men chosen who tried and true.
Mm-hmm. What would be some of the duties of the Supreme Grand Council as evidenced by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali? I mean, as evidenced by the very fact that it had its origin and it had its setting in 1928.
If we look at the Chicago Defender, for example, they reported on the success of the convention in 1928. And in an interview, the Prophet Noble Drew Ali told a reporter who wrote down what the Prophet Noble Drew Ali told.
And we have copies of that.
Yes, we have a copy of that. That is very similar to the other article that I just quoted from, because there was misunderstanding at that time as to where the seat of power was vested. Mm-hmm. And that the Prophet Noble Drew Ali was forced to make changes. I'm sure that most members have read that article because it appeared in the Moorish Guide. It said he was forced to make changes. The Prophet congratulated those who had been loyal and faithful. But he said he had to make changes because there were those who did not understand what the seat of power is vested. The Prophet has caused the following to be published. Well, in a similar vein, this is what he said to the reporter for the Chicago Defender. He said, "It is reported that the Prophet, the supreme head of the Moorish Science Temple of America, will appoint," again that word appoint, "a Supreme Grand Council, of which he will be Supreme Grand Chairman. That it will be the duty of this Supreme Grand Council to regulate all of the affairs and the properties of the Moorish Science Temple of America, and to be the sole judge of what constitutes conduct injurious to the order, peace, welfare, interests of the organization, and to interpret anything that would be at variance with the doctrines of the Moorish Science Temple of America." I'm paraphrasing now. Mm-hmm. But clearly this is what the Prophet Noble Drew Ali wanted done. Mm-hmm. It's what he wanted done, and not what some members of the organization, including myself or you or anyone else. This is what he said.
Mm-hmm. Now you just saw, laid out the whole organizational framework for our government. The Moorish Science Temple of America, how it structures the government for us as a nation. The Supreme Grand Council is an integral, it's a necessary component to the organization, to the government, to the structure, in terms of following the law, carrying out the law. So Kudjo was lying, but on top of that, you heard the Elder Moore, you heard him highlight the word appoint. So I want to bring you to the law dictionary. Because you know Moors, we go to the law dictionary, right? Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition. Look it up with me. Don't believe me. The word appoint. Appoint, to designate, ordain, prescribe, nominate. To fix, constitute, or ordain, prescribe, settle, also to assign authority to a particular use, task, or office, allot, designated. Appoint is used where exclusive power and authority is given to one person, officer, or body to name persons to hold certain offices. It is usually distinguished from elect, meaning to choose by a vote of the qualified voters of the city or state. Government action, politics, nationhood, right? We're talking about the Moorish nation. Appointing is, we're talking about law here and government. We're not going to stop there because I want you to be clear that this isn't something that Kudjo doesn't understand. He knows quite well. He's intentionally lying and misleading. And that is the problem. We have people within our movement, Moors, Moorish Americans, that claim to honor Noble Drew Ali, claim they know about law and been studying for years and years and years, but they are misleading the people. They are saying and doing things that go against Noble Drew Ali's teachings. But let's read from the Administrative Functions book. This from R.V. Bay Publications, which Kudjo knows very well. And this is the structure within the temple, page 56. Number 3, the office of the Grand Sheikh or Grand Sheikhess is of the highest order and is the highest officer in our Moorish Muslim society. Society is a key word. We'll come back to it. Let me just finish this real quick. The office of the Grand Sheikh or Grand Sheikhess is that of our head governmental officer and religious minister. Government and religion, or another way to say it, national and divine. That's why this is the Moorish divine and national movement. Do you see it's two sides to this? That's the balance. Society. I wanted to highlight that word. We're going back, Black's Law Dictionary, real quick for you. Going back to society. The word society, as it said in the book, just to highlight it again, the Grand Sheikh is the highest officer in our Moorish Muslim society. Administrative Functions book. Kudjo has it. Kudjo's read from it. He calls himself a Grand Sheikh. He should know this in law. Society. Civil society. Usually a state, nation, or body politic. Civil society, usually society is a state, nation, or body politic. In a wider sense, up top it says, in a wider sense, the community or public, the people in general, the Moorish American people, the Moorish American nation. The Grand Sheikh is the highest officer, governmental officer, and divine minister. So when Kudjo tries to make it seem like the Moorish Science Temple of America, or not even seem like, when he lies and says that the Moorish Science Temple of America has nothing to do with the Moorish nation, he is lying. He is intentionally talking against the temple to make people go against the temple. And this is the problem with our movement. There's nothing wrong with the Moorish Science Temple of America. What is wrong is the people that are claiming to be Grand Sheikhs, claiming to be a part of this movement, and aren't teaching the correct things. That are teaching things that go against what Noble Drew Ali taught, against what he said, against the Moorish law. These are our laws we're supposed to be following. And Kudjo is violating the law. And we have to be honest about that. We can't lie. We can't hide that. We have to be honest.
Actually, I'm going to read a question that's coming in from Assistant Grand Sheikh Rami Salam L. And the question coming through the chat says, does any of the Grand Sheikhs know who are the members of the Supreme Grand Council for the Moorish Science Temple of America?
Now, in 2015, that's 2021 right now. So in 2015 is the reference point of him asking about Supreme Grand Council. In 2015, we founded our temple 2010. So in 2015, we're already 5 years in as Moorish Science Temple of America, haven't done anything with regard to any of those so-called people calling themselves Moorish Science Temple of America. Yeah, we got a sign outside that says Moorish Science Temple of America. What do you mean we have to go to convention? Go to convention for what? What am I going to convention for? These people aren't having a convention because this is a nation. They're having a convention because this is a religious corporation. That's not what Noble Drew Ali brought.
Now you heard him boldly say, for 5 years he's never done anything with the Moorish Science Temple of America. That what is the convention? Why does he have to go? I'm going to read what Noble Drew Ali said, okay? From the Moorish literature again, that Kudjo has. Let me read it. To all governors, grand sheiks, and head officials of temples, by order of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, has said the following thing during this our very first convention. Prophet Noble Drew Ali said that the Moorish Science Temple of America was organized to play a useful and divine part in the advancement of the sacred obligation of American citizenship. As the Moorish Divine and National Movement was founded for the uniting of the Asiatic states of North America on May 1st, 1916. As this will have been our very first convention and most interesting one ever held in this city. It was featured by delegates from 15 different states, from local branch temples and subordinate temples, which have been established for the uplifting of fallen humanity. During this, our first convention, in sessions specific of general work and civil accomplishments were reported by the grand sheiks of each branch temple and subordinate temple, as each grand sheik was required to give a reporting of his temple. I'm going to start that again. During this, our first convention, in sessions specific of general work and civil accomplishments were reported by the grand sheiks of each branch temple and subordinate temple, as each grand sheik was required to give a reporting of his temple and the governor, and in the continued growth and development of this divine movement, as each grand sheik gave their report about the growth and business of and enterprises of the example of collective efforts that show that the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America and their leaders have enacted a sound economic program and are blazing the trail and marking the pathway over which our posterity can travel unhampered and unafraid. The grand sheiks of all the branch temples were required to go to the convention to give a report of the works and the growth of their temple, so that the people of our nation, of the Moorish Science Temple of America, can see, oh, we got a sound economic plan. It's not just about religion or praying. No, we have businesses and we can see the progress and the growth of our nation, of the Moorish Science Temple of America. That is why he's supposed to be going, and because he claims to be a grand sheik. But through his own words and actions, he has shown that he has violated the law. He has not lived up to the duties of the grand sheik, the highest officer of our society. He has not gone to the convention. He has not gave reports of his business and the temple growth and the works that the temple is doing to the main temple, as all subordinate temples are supposed to. That's how it operates. That's the structure. Not what I say, what Noble Drew Ali created. The prophet. So in conclusion, wrapping it all up, just to highlight again what Noble Drew Ali said, the divine plea to all Moorish Americans to protect the prophet and protect our temple. So if you see Moorish Americans being disrespectful and down-talking the Moorish Science Temple of America, know that they're going against the teachings of Noble Drew Ali. If you see a Moorish American down-talking the Supreme Grand Council, know that they're going against the teachings and the laws of Noble Drew Ali that Noble Drew Ali laid down. if you see him more speaking radically, talking radically about other people and other organizations, if you see that, being disrespectful to other people, doesn't whether it's the Nation of Islam, peace to them brothers and sisters, whether it's our Christian brothers and sisters, whatever the organization is, whatever the group of people, if you see them speaking radically, know they're going against the teachings of Noble Drew Ali. And we have to protect our temple, protect our prophet, protect and stand on our principles: love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. A standard has been set for how we should conduct ourselves as Moorish Americans, and we got to live up to that. We can't be renegades and just do whatever we want. As Moorish Americans, we have to conduct and we have to hold ourselves in a certain manner to distinguish ourselves as Moorish Americans. We're not Negroes. We have to show it through our words, through our actions, and our deeds, following the teachings of Noble Drew Ali. Last thing I want to read, a small little, some words from the Mysteries of the Silent Brotherhood of the East. Hate is a cruel word. If man hates you, regard it not, and you can turn the hate of men to love and mercy and goodwill. And mercy is as large as all the heavens. The other line, he is the greater man who conquers self than he who kills 1,000 men in war. And lastly here, return to him who does you wrong your purest love, and he will cease from doing wrong. For love will purify the heart of him who is beloved as truly as it purifies the heart of him who loves. Love is the key. Love is the way. If someone is being mean to you, being disrespectful, talking down about Moorish Americans and Noble Drew Ali or Moorish Science Temple of America, don't stoop down to that level. Don't be mean. Don't get into that negative, lower vibration, the lower self. Don't do that. Elevate. Uplift yourself. Let that shine. Let the love shine. And you uplift them too. Much love. Keep shining. Peace.